pipeline, but first let me tell you a little story about a girl in distress. This fine woman is named Joyce. She is my roommate. Joyce decided to expand her horizons and take a trip to Thailand. In Thailand, she took so many prized pictures with all of her digital cameras, she ran out of space on her memory sticks. So she went to the local Kinko's-esque place in Thailand to transfer her JPEG files to the memory stick, from the memory stick to a CD. The transfer looked to be successful, but trouble loomed. She got the CDs home to view her wonderful memories, and booyah, no pictures to be found. In hysterics, she calls me up, and without hesitation, I call upon Mr. CD Recovery himself, Patrick Norton. Pat, can you take this? Yay!
That was such a lovely story.
Can you take us through a little step-by-step process?
No, it was interesting, right? Come in with you two perfectly fine. It wasn't no scratches, no damage, no massive problems on the CDs. You're like, why are the pictures there, right? So went over to a system. I used CompuPixels on the 98 system. Right. So normally,
if we all moved in together, it could be like Three's Company. I could be,
Mr. Roper?
Mr. Roper, and he'd be Furley or whatever the other guy.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I know I'm Mr. Roper. I gave up on that a long time ago. So you took her disk.
Took the disk, loaded it into a system. First thing you do, right, is, it's not like a hard drive where you have to worry about modifying it as you look at it, right?
That's a good point, yeah.
And I've got some stuff, some software we're not going to talk about. We've got in a web article up on the screensavers.com. But first thing I did is just basically opened up the drive. I'm going to try to actually open up the drive and not my network places. That'll help a lot. And we're going to scroll down, right? We've got that's a CD-ROM drive. Obviously, I'm going to hit the launch one, and we're going to open that. Normally, we don't have the original disk to show us.
Okay.
That's just what happened to be in there. So we're going to explore that.
So you explore it to see what's on it.
And see what's in there. One of the nice things you can do.
Where did you find Mr. Holmes?
What I found is about 67 pictures because I clicked it over to a view and went to thumbnails. What's nice about when you're looking for pictures, right? You go to thumbnails, you can see them, right? So on one disk, about 67 thumbnails, and then like 275 icons that were like, there's a picture here. And you double click on it and nothing would happen. Really interesting things. So it scratches, it damaged. So, we did the basic look at it. We saw there were some pictures there and a bunch of pictures missing. Those are the things. It's going to be a slightly shorter backup hard drive segment later on today. Let me escape out of that one. So what we started is I started like, so we looked at some photo recovery software that's designed for compact flash. And, remember the stuff James Kim showed us? We liked it, right? But it's not really designed for DVDs, but I'm like, hey, or CDs.
File system's a file system.
Hey, it's on the system. We'll try it together. So we tried the photo recovery software. Didn't show up. So I'm like, let's look for some CD and DVD-ROM specific software. And that's some great software for recovering information off of compact flash and memory and smart memory, basically any kind of memory media using a camera. So dumped into CD Data Rescue. So the first thing we downloaded online, and it's
this is not free, but you could try it.
This is not free. Pretty much all the free stuff. Maybe somebody out there, they've got a link to a good free program, because everything now seems to be try it, see if you can recover something, and then pay us, and we'll let you recover it.
Oh, interesting. So you can just see if it'll work, but you can't actually use it.
So this one, this is the most amazingly complex interface, and it crashes every other time I use it, no matter what system I have it installed on. So we're not even going to get into CD Data Rescue. That we're going to avoid it for right now.
I mean, it's good to have in your toolkit if the others don't work, but there you go.
Again, download the stuff, try it out. The one I really liked was CD DVD Diagnostic, and we're going to hit OK on there. Basically, if the spinning disk is moving, it is retrieving. Now, there's a reason for that. Sometimes you can recover data off of a disk that you can't actually see in your operating system. The the TOC, the table of contents is wiped. Maybe you can't address it, but what you're going to do is you're going to scan the disk and basically look for the zeros and ones on the disk. What this will do is basically it looks a lot like the Explorer layout, but you start getting stuff like you can inspect the table of contents to see if there's anything listing there. Or what I really liked about this was when analyzing the disk, when I was looking at Jessica's roommate's disk, what showed up is it told us that there was a certain amount of data written in there. It was basically like the TOC said there should be like 59 megabytes of data, but only 19 megabytes of data. 590 megabytes on the TOC, but only 19 or 190 megabytes were actually on the disk.
So that's interesting.
So it starts to look like that there was a bad burn, either a buffer underrun or something, and most of the majority of the disk wasn't actually written to the CD-ROM. Now, we had a couple other applications we looked at just to see if they saw anything different. We got links to those up for the screensavers. But just for fun, I started to realize that basically it looks like the information was never put there, right? So there's no way to recover that. So I got a little old school and I pulled up a hex editor. Now, a hex editor is designed to essentially look at the raw information that's written down. The zeros and ones the computer looks at when it's looking at files. Now, you see all this happy mess Don't worry about not being able to read that because I can't. Leo might be able to. There's some programmers in the audience that are going like, that's a really weird file you're showing there, dude. Now, but we did those is basically what you can do is open up a file, and at this point I'll say this user manual file, and that's what I did on that disk, right? For all of the files that we couldn't open the pictures, there was no information in there.
Zero.
There was no, and when we said like, okay, buffer underruns, some kind of a problem. Right. 2/3 of both disks was not actually written to the disk. There's no information there. Right. So it's it's kind of like we weren't able to recover basically any more photos than they found. Oh. But you got to remember, before you leave Thailand, always check like the first and the last picture on the disk. Just scan around the disk, especially if you don't have access, if you're never going to have access to the hard drive again, if you're not going to have access to those pictures. Double check your data, especially on a CD-ROM, to make sure it's burned. The other thing is what these programs are really more designed for is if the disk is damaged by a scratch or something, or maybe you can't load it or read it, what they might be able to do is rebuild the information and allow you to pull it off manually. Finally, the hex editor, a very raw tool that'll basically let you see if there's any information there, and if there is some, then maybe you can turn around and figure out a way to extract it. The automated tool's much easier way to do this.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anybody's got a free tool they like for doing either, actually for that matter, hard drive recovery or CD or DVD data recovery, kick me an email. I would love to hear about it. Or kick an email to the screensavers at TechTV.com.
Okay.
We want to know.
So we got links to all this stuff?
Links to all this stuff at the screensavers.com. Basically, all the photo-based stuff I used to look at it on the 98 machine.
I feel bad, though. We didn't...
we tried really hard, though. But you know what? Sometimes you just can't... if there's nothing there, you can't recover it.
Well, Mr. Roper wasn't able to recover it either. How'd you like to make a living smashing things? Patrick kind of does that, doesn't he? Our next guest actually is a researcher at Cal, University of California at Berkeley, Dr. James O'Brien, and what he does is he smashes things in the computer. He's busy breaking objects using his mind and some serious algorithms and computer power. James, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
It's great to have you here.
It's good to be here.
How'd you get into this field?
Well, I started my PhD work at Georgia Tech, and I eventually got interested in the mechanics of how things move and why they move the way they do, and fracture is one of the hardest problems there is to solve, and so I sort of gravitate towards that one.
Why is fracture so hard to solve?
Basically because not only are you trying to figure out how an object's going to move or how it's going to bend, but you're also trying to deal with how cracks are going to move through the object, and they're pretty unpredictable.
Oh, interesting. Like weather, it's kind of chaotic. It's not.
Yeah, a little bit.
There's no rational, you can't say it's definitely going to go left here or right here.
Not without information that you just don't have.
Does it depend on the purity of the material?
It depends on little microscopic imperfections. Whether a crack goes right or left,
right.
It's down at the atomic level how the things behave.
But that doesn't really matter to you because you're not trying to predict how it's going to happen. You're just trying to make it look realistic, right?
Exactly. We want to fool the eye. We're not interested in, for the work that I'm doing at least, we're not interested in getting a prediction that's very accurate or that's exactly what would happen, mainly because you can't do that.
Right.
What we do want to do is we want to get things that look the way they would look in the real world that you can then use as a movie effect or maybe stuff like this right here.
Like smashing bunnies.
Right. So there's no real bunnies here. There's no.
This is all computer.
Object. It's all computer generated. It was all computed by the computer using algorithms, lots of math, some differential equations. Nothing done by person, nothing done by real world.
How many lines of code to simulate something like that?
The code base that we have for doing this is somewhere around 100,000 lines, but then there's a whole lot of support libraries and stuff, so I don't even know exactly how much.
Is it something you've been working on personally, or do you have a team of people working on it?
The fracture stuff is mostly stuff that I've been working on personally, but I also have a team of 6 graduate students who do really great work, and they've been working on a whole lot of other things as well.
Is it on SGI you're writing this? What kind of...
Well, originally when I was in grad school, we started working with SGIs, but they sort of, they lost the market. So actually most of this work was done using PCs running Linux.
Linux, okay.
Yeah.
And the graphics, and so is it in C and the graphics libraries are in C?
C++, yeah.
C++. Interesting. And again, I want to underscore this. You're not doing a failure analysis for people who are trying to figure out why a bridge fell.
Yeah.
This is for movies, ultimately for video games, to make it look like you could actually generate realistic looking fractures and falling apart of things. Yep. Let's take a look at step-by-step of how you do it. You start with, just as a game would, a wireframe, right?
Right. So we have some object. This is like a bowl right here.
Right.
And so we can take this object and we can sort of chop it up into a lot of pieces. If we were just doing 2D graphics, those pieces would be triangles. But in 3D, we're going to have these tetrahedra.
Okay.
And
so we're going to see the tetrahedra here. These are what is the difference between a tetrahedra and a triangle? Oh, it's three-dimensional.
It's three-dimensional, exactly. It's basically a tetrahedra is the equivalent of a triangle, but in 3D, and that's because we need to model solid objects. When you have a crack, it just doesn't move around on the surface. It goes right through the object and breaks it apart.
So even though in a video game or movie, sometimes you can use TD triangles to simulate a thing, you can't do it for your work because you need to have additional information.
Right. And like you can actually see that right here over on the right side. We've actually got, if you have the surface, if you just have the outside boundary, when the crack starts going in, you have to have stuff there. You need information about what's happening.
Interesting. Interesting. And is there anything? What is these here? This is another failure?
This is another just demonstrating. Once we have the object broken up to those original tetrahedron, we can't just use those and stick with them, because then we'd have something that kind of look like Lego blocks coming apart.
Of course. It has to be kind of randomized a little bit, yeah.
Well, not just randomly. You got to give that crack the freedom to go where it wants through the material. And so we have this algorithm for basically taking something that's already been broken in tetrahedra and then redoing how it's broken apart, or remeshing it to accommodate the cracks as they move through the object.
So is it not random? I mean, did you not just say, well, pick one or the other and go that way? Or there's actually some rules?
Yeah, there are actually rules. But if you just picked boundaries that are already there, then you get that Lego block effect. Think about when you have Legos. I mean, there's lots of blocks, and there are all kinds of different directions.
It's still random, but it's random and it comes out like blocks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would look terrible.
All right. Well, now, also, I would imagine the kind of material you're simulating would impact it, whether it's wood or glass or plastic.
Yeah.
We have some windows breaking here. We'll show you.
So we have about 10 or 15 parameters. It depends on which of the simulation versions we're talking about. And
well, that was very different. So this is more like it's going through cloth, and the one before it was more like it was going through glass.
Or plastic. This one's going to start bending here. Some examples, you can see a kind of tearing effect.
So you're varying what kinds of parameters are you varying?
Well, in these ones we're varying a whole lot of different parameters, and these were just selected to get some interesting results. Now, you could look up these parameters in some sort of a textbook.
Materials textbook?
Yeah, materials, list of materials. And these are the same materials that an engineer would use to describe, parameters that an engineer would use to describe the object. But because we're doing graphics, we want to sort of give the designer freedom to get what kind of effect they like. We don't tie them down to picking real materials. They can actually pick anything they want.
And what, they enter in different numbers depending on?
Yeah, just type in different numbers or move a slider up and down to get different effects.
Wow, that's cool. We have some terracotta trays to simulate. What is terracotta? What kind of?
Like a ceramic kind of flower pot or something material. What we're doing right here is we're just varying one single parameter in these several different examples you're going to see. They're going to each break a little bit differently.
What parameter are you
This one's actually how much energy is absorbed when the thing hits. When it hits the ground, does it absorb a lot of energy, or does that energy sort of stay in the object, bouncing around, and that's what causes it to shatter into a lot more pieces?
Interesting. So a bounce would indicate that the energy is not being absorbed, or it is being absorbed?
Well, as you can see from these examples, it gets a little bit complicated.
It's more than you can. Of course, I'm trying to simplify it far more. So it's interesting. It's hitting with the same speed in each case, but boy, it's
everything's exactly the same except for that one parameter.
Very different results.
So this is actually kind of a tough subject, because if you want to put this in the hands of an artist who's going to be working at Disney or Pixar or ILM or wherever you have, you don't want to have them understand they don't want to need a degree in mechanical engineering. So you have to try and make these things usable for someone who's got artistic skills, not necessarily mechanical.
I mean, I suppose you could say, I like that one. I suppose you could say, well, this is plastic, this is glass, this is ceramic.
We could give them a material library, sure. That'd be one possibility.
But again, they want to be more flexible.
Yeah, we don't want to tie them down.
Now, can you do this in real time, or how long does it take to create those?
So each of those took a couple hours to run. It's not real time. Yeah, each one of them took a couple hours. So that you're basically comparing, you have like maybe a second or half a second of animation, a couple of hours simulation. That's actually pretty typical for a lot of the physical simulation methods that are used for movie effects.
So movies say that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But video games, you got to be a little.
No, it's got to be real time.
Yeah.
And so we're working on getting there.
Can you? Do you think? How hard is that?
It's tough. It's not easy, but we've got computers are getting faster. That helps us out a little bit. Not as much as you need. That's not going to get you from hours to seconds.
You need better algorithms, better.
Exactly. And that's what my research group works on. Faster, better algorithms.
And you're getting there?
Yeah.
Is it gradual work, or have there been breakthroughs? Or have there been
it goes in steps.
In steps. Yeah. How interesting. And are motion picture companies using this kind of technique?
So the code that you saw for doing the fracture, that was research buggy code, hacked together by grad students. It's right now being put together in commercial implementation. So you should be seeing this stuff in movies soon.
Oh, exciting. Well, I guess we've reached the end of our time together, James. But it has been fascinating seeing things break. It is the end, right? Let's see that.
The end.
The end. Smash. Very neat work, and I think a lot of fun too. James O'Brien is doing research on how things break for movies and ultimately for video games. Read more about his fascinating research at our website, thescreensavers.com.
P-Tipper's here. Here's my little P-Tipper with a great download.
That's right. This is fun. Now, of course, there are mouse people who like to use the mouse for everything. There are the keyboard shortcut people. like me. And then there are the people who yearn for something cooler than anything to launch applications, perform various sorts of tasks on their computers. Today's download of the day is definitely the coolest thing I found. It's called Stroke It. Yes, it's called Stroke It. But it's really cool. Now, take a look at this. What I'm going to do is I'd like to find something on my computer, okay? So I'm just going to hold down my right mouse button and make an F. Aha! And the find prompt comes up. This is so cool. The way that I did this was Stroke It is a free, totally free program that I installed on my computer. And I'm going to go into the command editor here. What's going on is, in my global actions, I can look and see, find is the F key, okay? This is something that's already pre-configured. All of these actions are all pre-configured. So you have a good head start. You know, if you've got Kazaa and Outlook Express and stuff like that, it already has really neat commands that are built in for you. But in the global actions, if I want to find something, I literally just draw an F. Now, just for kicks, I'm going to draw a crazy F that it won't recognize. It's saying, hey, I don't recognize what you just did. What do you mean? And that way you can make it smarter. So I can say, okay, it's an unrecognized gesture, but I want you to recognize it as F. I'm going to say, please learn this. And it'll go, oh, okay, you want me to find something. And the next time I do it, you can draw, let's say, 10 different Fs, so that the chances that it's not going to recognize it down the road are very slim. So you can kind of be sloppy. You know, for example, same thing. If I want to open my web editor, I have to do it a little bit better because I haven't done this. It will launch just like this. Now, it's really cool. Now, this is not just for launching applications. It could be for copy and pasting, for example. Let's say I want to copy this text. I just make an up stroke, and then it's a downstroke, and there it is again. It's really, really cool. As far as Wacom tablets, so I can't get it to work right now because it's relying on that right mouse button, although it does seem to allow you to, in the preferences area, change whether you want it to be right button, left button, or middle button if you have one of those complicated mice. You can also change the line when you're actually drawing your gesture. You can change the color. You can change how thick it is, stuff like that. I don't really know why that would matter so much, but you have that option. You can add plugins here. You can also create, this is probably the coolest thing, you can also create your own commands, actions associated with applications. For example, I added a new iTunes. I want, when I draw Z, it to open. I just create that. I have to add a command that says I want it to run this program. It's directing me to an executable, stuff like that. This is the coolest program ever. It does so many things, and the possibilities are endless because you can teach it to do whatever you want, and all that jazz. Anyway, totally free. Did I mention it was totally free? You can get it for yourself in my Download of the Day article at thescreensavers.com. And that is it for me. Guys, what's coming up on the show?
My only one question about that is, what if you have to right-click? I mean, can you still...
Yeah, you can either disable it in the quick launch or in the system tray. Just with a right-click, it'll turn red, and then you're not going to be using it for that amount of time. Or if you just want it with it isolated, you hold down the command key.
Oh, cool.
That's also customizable.
Easy enough.
Great.
Good to know. Welcome back to the Screensavers. Last week, Dick DeBartolo showed us his top picks from the American International Toy Fair. Today, our very own TechTV lab rat shows off his top picks. TechTV products manager and good friend, Phil Ellingham. Phil, welcome.
How you doing, Kevin?
How you doing?
I'm all right. Toy Fair this year. You know, there's 40,000 people all over the world. They go to New York,
right,
and they're trying to find the latest, greatest that's actually going to show up at Christmas time. So they're all purchasing for this upcoming Christmas.
This is all pre-release stuff. This hasn't hit the market yet.
Some of the stuff has hit the market. Some of the stuff is going to come out.
Okay.
So, but we can talk about that as we go. The first thing that we found, this is from Hasbro. This is called the Video Now player. It's proprietary format. Has a little disc on the inside. I'm actually watching a Scooby-Doo version. So you can see Scooby right there. So this is for kids. It's $50 for the player. The disc costs about $8. You can get a full episode. They got American Idol. They got all the content that you want, and you can get it pretty much anywhere all over the country.
That's so much cheaper. $50 is like, I mean, how much is a portable DVD player? You're talking a couple $100.
At least.
These things can get banged around. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, you know, there's a headphone jack. There's a headphone jack on the bottom, so you're going to be able. The kids can put their headphones in and just, you know, babysit.
Perfect.
So, next thing we found, we've had these in before. This is the kids mouse. They are, they're a little bit smaller. This one's actually translucent, so the LED on the inside is an optical mouse. This whole will actually glow.
Oh, like a ladybug. It's just going to light up.
Glow up.
That's cool.
They have a nifty little driver for kids. It turns out that little kids can't use left and right mouse buttons very well. So what they end up doing, they have a driver that makes it one mouse button, so kids can just grab onto the whole thing, and it's just going to work as one. And then as your kid grows up, you can go back to 2 buttons. And they're going to be able to.
And it's got matching headphones as well.
Matching headphones. The mouse is $27. The headphones are about $20.
Yeah, $20.
It's a little bit expensive if you're just buying a regular mouse, but anything that gets a kid involved in computing is worth every penny.
Nice.
Right?
The 20 questions ball. I love this.
Now this is kind of fun. They basically took some logic. They built in an IC chip in here. What it's going to do is going to ask you questions, just like the old game you played when you were a kid. And then when it gets to the end, it's going to say, I think you were thinking about a hamburger.
Right.
Its sort of claim to fame is they got the guys, there was a website that became kind of famous sort of in the late 90s called 20q.net. They took the same logic that they were using on that website, put it on a chip inside here, and now you can play it anywhere that you go. $10. It's a stocking stuffer. Take it with you.
$10.
Sit in the back of the, on the back of the bus and play it or something.
Cool. This I love. This is awesome.
This is called. That's the Z plane. This is an RC plane. Very inexpensive. It's $30. It has a little charger pack. This takes 8 AA batteries. You're able to plug it in so you can take this to the park with you. But fire that up.
We have batteries. Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now what's the thing that sets us apart on the back? Instead of having a rudder that goes left and right, it has a little propeller.
I see.
And so it's going to spin one way or the other depending on what direction you want it to go.
Let's pull back, and here, you power it up. I'm going to give this a toss.
You ready?
Can we get a wide shot of this?
You're going to see if we can get this thing going?
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Here we go.
Nice. Oh. We almost took out a couple interns.
I can't drive really well, but
we're okay.
you see that it actually
cool,
flies.
It's cool.
It's
Totally
great.
flies.
Now they're going to give you 2 sets of wings on there, so if you go and bust the first one, you're okay.
We just got 3 new interns in, and they just hit the floor. That was awesome. That was cool.
Oh, here it's.
There we go. Here it comes back. Oh, and there it goes. And
there it is. Now it's stuck.
Pat will have to get that down later.
All right. Moving on?
Okay, moving on. What do we got?
Talk about these?
Yeah, let's talk about those.
These are the Aqua Pets. These are from Wild Planet toys.
Okay.
Basically, they're like little Tamagotchis. You have to feed them. They want to play. They want to dance. They sing. They dance. They have a little chip and a microphone on the front.
Oh, mine's dancing.
So you can actually talk to it. They'll actually talk to each other.
Oh, so you can put them...
Yeah, you can get if you get a big row of them, see they'll dance.
Now, do they have like male and female ones? Because they did with those other little things where they'd mate and all that stuff.
Well, they won't mate. They don't have kids, but they will. What it's going to do if they once?
I don't know.
They're inside plastic.
This is my first time playing with these. So, okay.
So. Yeah, I think you're going.
Those are so much fun. Let's just move on.
All right, this is for grown-up. This is obvious. We're getting a little bit more grown-up here.
Yes.
This is called Lightning Reaction. It's a game that you play with your friends when you have nothing better to do.
This is cool. We were playing this ahead of time. What it does is, come in here, Leo. Come in and play with us. Yoshi, come in here too. The second, if you take a look here, let's take a look at the center of the pad here. When this turns green, the last person to press the button gets shocked. It's awesome. So make sure everyone's activated.
Everyone's playing.
Okay.
Everyone's in. You ready?
Okay, go.
Now, if you
watch the
log
button.
in too soon, you're going to get shocked too.
Yoshi, that's me. Yoshi pushed the button early. Let's try one more time.
I didn't know that rule.
Okay, second turns green.
So we're gonna watch. As soon as
it goes green.
And whoever's the last to hit it will be shocked, right?
Yeah.
And there's like, what, 4 AA, AAA batteries in here?
It's pretty hardcore.
Okay. Who has the best reaction?
Hold on.
This is good TV.
Taste of your own medicine. That's a fun game.
That's a fun game.
I want to take. Can I borrow this from Project for a few days?
Yeah, you can have it.
I want to mod that and put my shocking system that I have on the X-Shock controller and just like really give it a punch.
That would actually probably sort of juice it up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, that would be cool.
All right.
I like that.
So move
what
again.
Else we got?
Now this is a blow-up phone.
Okay.
This is from a company called Tink. This is actually a prototype. They haven't actually released this yet. I'm going to turn it the right way around. It's just for kids. It's actually a working phone. On the back, it actually has a telephone jack. Now what this company does, this company makes technology that allows you to put switches and just paint them onto surfaces. So these numbers, you'll notice they don't have any buttons.
Right.
You're going to be able to turn this on.
Just dial like
and then
that.
you just dial like you normally would.
The kids will love this. It'll totally like just bendable and flexible. You're not going to be able to break it.
You can actually, did you hear that?
They're mating.
They're crazy over there. So it blows up.
They also make inflatable speakers too, don't they? They
made a inflatable boom box that you could take to the beach, and it basically had the same thing. Yeah, it had volume control on the buttons. You just press it.
And the last one, we got to mention Optimus Prime.
There's almost no tech involved with this, but if you aren't a fan of Optimus Prime and Transformers here on TechTV, you know, you might be watching the wrong network. But it's great. This is a reissue. It's 20th anniversary. Made of metal and plastic, but it does the whole transform thing, which
takes like 20 minutes, you said, to put together.
Yeah, at least. I'm terrible at this thing.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Phil, for bringing all this stuff and showing us all the cool products. For a complete list of Phil's picks along with the gadgets we didn't have time to show you on the show today, you can head over to the screensavers.com. We have an article there that you put together.
For all of these products that I talked about.
Excellent.
I know you've seen those guys at the boardwalk, in the mall, at the amusement park drawing funny, exaggerated pictures of people. Those are caricature artists. In fact, that's how our next guest makes his living. He draws caricatures on paper at an amusement park down south, but he also does it on computer, digitally. He's, in fact, president of the National Caricature Network. Dion Socha, great to have you.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you. This is an interesting art. We've all seen people do caricatures. Mm-hmm. Did you start as a caricaturist? Did you start as a portraitist? How did you get involved?
Well, I started drawing portraits as a child, but that quickly lost fascination for me. I wanted to tear people up a little bit more and have some more fun with their face.
So to be a caricaturist, you have to have a little needle, a little edge.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to give it to you. And so how do you do it? Do you, I mean, what is it? What's the process?
Well, the process for me is really getting that first impression, looking at somebody and really looking at them quick, looking away and thinking, okay, what was it I saw?
What
was
do
the
I
impression?
remember?
Exactly. Exactly right.
So you're not looking, does he have a big nose, does he have big ears? You're trying to get the general gist.
Exactly. The first thing I try to do is just get a general impression and work from that.
And actually, now the ones we're going to show, are these paper or digital?
Everything that you're going to see now is digital work.
So you did, this is one of Johnny Cash. Obviously Johnny's no longer with us. Did you do this from life or from a picture?
This was done from a photo.
Photo. Mm-hmm. That's great. I love it. And in black, too, which is appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Kid Rock. Now, the clothes make the man.
Oh, of course.
So,
of course.
You know, I mean, there you go. That's the kid.
This one is almost entirely about the costume.
Yeah. Sure. Eminem there. Mm-hmm. Get it. Eminem. Get it. Eminem.
Sure.
That's
Too
the real
easy, but I had
Shady.
to go for it.
Real Slim Shady. All right, so that's cool. So we're going to now do a caricature of me and Patrick.
Absolutely.
And now, you use what program?
This is Corel's Painter 8.
Painter, huh?
Painter 8.
Not Photoshop?
No,
Why?
Absolutely different. Well, Photoshop is really good at manipulating images. Painter is really good at mimicking natural media. Paintbrushes, chalk, charcoal, pastels, watercolors. You name it, you can do it very realistically with this program.
So you're looking for something that will kind of duplicate what you do in real life?
Absolutely.
All right. You use a tablet?
I do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Was it hard for you to make the move to digital?
It took me about a year before I was really comfortable with it.
What was the hardest part?
Learning to draw over here and look at the screen in different positions.
See, that's what I always thought would be difficult.
It is.
Because you're used to having your hand be where the pen is drawing.
It is, yeah. It's difficult. A lot of people take a while to get used to it. Some people jump to it immediately.
All right. So here we have Painter. Wonderful program. Corel does it now. In a great program. Show us the palette of tools.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really kind of amazing. You can do anything.
Well, you've got a bunch of different stuff. You've got several different variations of paintbrushes that you can use, airbrushes, oil paints, pens.
You've even got a palette, a spatula there. I mean, just
all kinds of stuff. Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. All right, so what do you like to work with?
Well, I start off doing a sketch with a number 2 pencil.
Similar to what you would do in real life?
Absolutely. Okay. It's the way I have it set up. I have it designed so it's just like an HB pencil.
Okay. Eberhard Faber, is that your preferred?
Actually, I use the real cheap 50-cent one from the store.
Okay.
But I basically start with doing a sketch, and of course.
So we're not going to go through it, obviously. How long does it take you to do this?
That sketch, when I build up to that level, it takes me about an hour or two.
So we don't have time to do that.
Exactly.
But doesn't that look like you could smudge that with your finger? I mean, it really does look like a pencil.
And the line drawing that you're seeing here really is just kind of a blueprint for me to work over top of.
Now, I just have to ask you, how come Patrick looks so much like Patrick? But that's not me at all.
I never hear that from any of my customers. Never.
What was it? So, do you squint? And you did this, by the way, from photos, not from our real life.
Very, very small photos, I'd like to add.
Well, I think you did a good job. Do you squint?
I do, absolutely. When I squint, what I do is squint your eyes and you look at something and all the detail goes away and all that you're left with is the most important things. What's the the most contrast.
So when you squinted, you said, boy, that Leo is sure a handsome fella.
Well, that was my initial thought,
yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then you put your thumb right in the middle of my face. All right. So we have the basic black and white sketch.
Okay.
Now, how do we go from there?
Now, basically, I've taken the sketch and I've elevated up a layer. So it's set on a transparent layer. What I'm going to do from there is I'm going to create a background from the effects, surface control, and apply lighting. And what this does is it gives me the ability to automatically create a light source on the canvas for me to work with.
Okay.
Now, I've already done that, so you can see, again, that's showing through the background.
Now, so you start by darkening it down?
Absolutely. I like to work from very dark to very light.
Now, that's not how you work on paper, though.
Just the opposite, yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why.
Bit of a learning curve for me, but that's the way I prefer
But this
to work.
happened organically. You just kind of tried it, and it seemed to make sense for you.
It's the way it works best for me.
Okay. So you're gonna in effect lighten this up.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Doing a little more detail to the background. This I'm going to go ahead and create the darkest aspects of the flesh tone.
You're going to build on top of this, though?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is basically my shadow, and as you can see, I'm not being very careful at all with the edges. That's on a separate layer. I can easily go back and erase anything that overlaps the edges.
So here you're working pretty quickly, then.
Very quickly, and just scrubbing it in very quick.
All right.
I'm going to start adding some flesh tones on top of that.
Now, now that's always been of interest to me. Flesh is so difficult. You didn't just put orange on top of the red.
No, well, with Painter, it's not too difficult. I find an image somewhere between the red and the yellow color, and
how do you do the highlights? You are using what kind of brush?
Well, right now I'm using a modified colored pencil.
Okay.
And
you did your own modifications too.
Absolutely. I rendered changed a little bit. Now, as you can see, I can start brushing in the color. Letting it up.
Lightening up his forehead.
And again, I'm still being really loose at this point. All I'm thinking about is where I want the brightest brights.
You'll clean that up down the road.
Oh, very much so. Very much
What's
so.
next?
Well, I'm going to start adding a little more detail into it. This I've gotten a little further. I've put a little color into the shirts. I've added a little more detail into the hair. I like to work from the really general into the very specific, so that I'm not doing anything detail oriented until I get right down to the very end.
Let's see the final.
Well, this is the final.
Can you zoom in on this?
And this, I tend to work really large, about 12 by 16 by about 300 DPI.
A lot of detail.
Gotcha. And these are...
that is beautiful.
This, as you can see, is about full resolution. You can start to see some of
How long did that take you to do from beginning to end?
It takes me about 30 hours to do something like this.
So you worked almost a week on this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Well, I'm honored.
I did bring a little gift for you.
That's great.
Patrick.
Patrick, look. We can put this on our ego wall. Look at that. I
should
love
help knock it down a few notches.
I want you to sign this, Dion, though.
Oh, they are actually signed and numbered on the back.
Oh, wow. That's great. Isn't that neat? Looks just like him, doesn't it? Look at that. Very nice. So this you would recommend for somebody who wants to get into this business? You think it would be good to start digitally?
Oh, absolutely. With digital, you can always edit things. You can always change things. You can never go too far that you can't back up a little bit.
I'm amazed. I mean, this looks so much like a real painting. When you print it out, you couldn't tell it wasn't a real painting. And yet, all done with the painter from Corel. If you want more information on Dion's work, you can always go to his website. In fact, you can order a caricature for yourself, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be a great gift. DionSocia.homestead.com. There's the website. And I think we're going to keep you around for a little bit because I know Sarah and a few of the other people want to have their own characters, their own Dion Socia caricature. Thank you so much for joining us, Dion. That's really great. If you want to know more, including tips. We're the dips. These are the tips on getting started as a digital caricature artist, as well as links to a bunch of Dion's other work. Check out the screensavers.com.
Nice. Got the eyes.
All I can say is...
Sorry.
Later on, off camera, we're going to watch Sarah kick the snot out of Leo Laporte.
Hey, mine looks like somebody pressed a thumb. I mean, that's a caricature. You're supposed to make people laugh, right? What do you think? Do you like it, Sarah?
Yeah, I do. Better than yours.
You got one of those faces.
I know. Face for radio.
Hey, you still got a hairline.
Kinda.
Early next year, actually early last year, actually back in like June or July, I built, the volume 2 of the $500 gaming PC.
That was fun.
It was really fun. Actually, was it March? I thought we did one of them in July, too.
But it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it was like the best possible gaming machine.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It was. It merely had, wait, let me see if I can get this right, an Athlon 2500, 333 megahertz Barton core, an Asus A7NX, an NForce 2 motherboard, 256 megabytes of RAM, the GeForce FX 5200.
Compromised on the RAM a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it only had 256 megabytes.
Yeah, and the GeForce was great. I know, I'm just saying.
This was $511.
No, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying.
80 gigabyte hard drive.
In those days, that was the best you could do.
You're right. And you know what? We're not getting much better. That was the other thing about that.
Setting you up, dude.
I know you're setting me up. And you're doing a fine job. The thing we did with that one, we went all to local vendors here in the San Francisco area.
Right.
So that includes sales tax, and that includes the fact that basically, look, the best deals you're going to find, especially on graphics cards, sometimes cost as much as 50 to almost 100% more locally.
We paid a lot more. Yeah.
Processors, not too bad. Memory, not too bad. Motherboards, you might not pay that much more locally, but you'll rarely find, if you want to get a basic stripped-down motherboard that just has the features you want, they can be really hard to find in the specific model you want.
And remember, we're in the Silicon Valley area, so we have a better choice probably than most places in the country.
So for the latest $500 PC, I put together a spec. This is the machine we're going to build. We're going to mail order it all off of vendors we find on PriceWatch, and then we're going to report back in about a month, and we're going to talk about, did we get good service? How much did we have to pay for shipping? Did we have to change our vendors to get low cost or free shipping? What about restocking fees? All that good stuff. We're going to report back on how it works out.
I found it's the best way to do it. That's usually how I do it.
Well, it's amazing how much money you can save.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the article up online, but check this out. XP 2600, 333, megahertz front side bus.
Same processor.
Yeah, actually it should be a little bit less, $82, a little bit faster.
Okay.
NForce 7, NForce 2 socket ATX, basically the built-in LAN, built-in audio.
Great motherboard.
$70.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it gets better. This time, if we order it online, PC 2700 DDR RAM, 512 megabytes, a half a gig, $56. It gets better.
We doubled the amount of RAM for half the money.
It gets better. If we mail order, we should be able to pick up an ATI Radeon 9600 Pro for $90.
See, now that's an excellent. It's not the top of the line, but it's pretty darn close.
But it's almost. And you want to be careful, right? Because a lot of people go, well, I can get it 9800 SE for like $20 more.
No.
Don't. Because when it happens, any of the SE models from ATI, they're essentially a stripped down, they're last generation pipelines. What you end up doing is you pay more money for the equal or less performance of the lower numbered models.
So the way to go is the Pro.
SE performs like on Unreal would probably be less performance than a 9600 Pro.
Okay.
It's a little confusing.
And we're only paying $90 for the Pro?
$90 for the 9600 Pro. Yeah, it's amazing. That's what like 128 megabytes of RAM for like 12, 15, 20 bucks more. You get 256 megabytes. 100 gigabytes, 7200 RPM hard drive, only 2 megabytes of cache, but we went for the size, so we couldn't find a good deal on an 8 megabyte hard drive. We're going to keep nosing around for that.
How much is that going to be?
$77. Did I mention 100 gigabytes, $77?
100 gigs.
Does that like make you want to cry? Because my first hard.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 5 megabyte hard drive, $500.
Yeah.
50 megabyte hard drive, $500.
Yeah.
Okay, LG Electronics. We went for really cheap because all we want to do is load games on this one. It was like $16
this is your
for 52x CD-ROM.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like, and then a PowerMax 400 watt steel case, $17 from a bunch of different vendors online. So the total right now is $408 without shipping.
Wow.
So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get maybe a better power supply for the case. We're probably going to put either a combo drive, DVD, CDRW, or a CDRW drive in there. And we're going to come back and tell you how the mail ordering went and what the total cost was. But right now, we're $80 underneath the price.
That's great.
Dan Fufu Heward paid for his last graphics card.
And that was our benchmark, right?
Yeah.
We want to get a computer cheaper than Dan's, and the entire computer cheaper than Dan's video card alone.
So we're going to build it. It's going to become one of the set pieces here on the screensavers, and we're going to compare it to the Ultimate Gaming Machine when that comes out next month.
So we'll have the benchmarks on the two.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the Ultimate Gaming Machine will be faster, but it's going to cost like 3 times as much. The list, the parts, the links, all up to screensavers.com.
G4 TV for gamers and TechTV are connecting to Forum G4 Tech TV. Stay connected. For more information, go to g4techtv.com.